Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Chemistry 101. Today we will be delighted by the presence of Jacques Charles.
Let me tell you folks, this is not something you want to miss. We will travel into the depths of gas laws.
And not only is this some very intelligible of the topic of gas laws, but this is the very creator of one.
So now we welcome our hero, Jacques Charles.
Welcome, our dear creator of Charles Law.
This is such an honor to be here. It took a little while coming from the mid-1700s and early 1800s, but honestly, very manageable.
I'm so glad you were able to make it from France.
Well, I was visiting the city in which I was born, Beaugency-Lorient, France.
Ooh, so interesting. I would like to hear more about the beginning of your life and the prequel to your excellency.
Wow, oh my, this takes me back a few decades, but since this is Chem is Try 101, I will gladly share some of my life story.
What was the start of your career?
The start of it all began at the Ministry of Finance in Paris, where I was a clerk.
What was the journey that followed your duties as a clerk?
Well, after clerking and during clerking, I began to have a fascination with science and began to do many experiments with electricity. Throughout these experiments, I created inventions including the hydrometer and the reflecting goniometer. This led me to become a French mathematician and then a physicist. My friend Nicholas Robert and I were the first to go up in the sky in a hot air balloon, which led me to my law.
Oh, what a fascinating life. So was your fascination with chemistry what inspired you to move forward with your study with Charles Law?
Well, yes, I was very intrigued with chemistry, but more specifically gases.
When did you develop Charles Law?
It was developed about 1787, where I studied the relationship between the volume and temperature of gases.
So if I may ask, what even is Charles Law?
The basics of it is that gas is directly proportional to its temperature. So when the temperature of the gas rises, then the volume also increases, and then vice versa. When the temperature goes down, the volume also decreases.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming the two changing variables would be temperature and volume, but what are the constant variables?
Yes, you are absolutely correct. Temperature and volume are the changing variables, and they have a direct relationship. The constant variables is the amount of gas and pressure.
Oh, that makes so much more sense to me now that you have explained it like that. But is there a way for me and my fellow co-hosts to figure out the exact relationship between volume and temperature?
Well, of course. I have my formula. It makes problems in the relationship between volume and gas a lot simpler. Would you like me to share?
Well, yes, of course, if you're able to.
Of course, yes. So, it's V1 over T1 equals V2 over T2. But make sure when solving the equation, you convert the temperature into the units of Kelvin, which you can just do by adding 273.15 when the temperature is in Celsius.
Wow, I think I'm starting to understand Charles Law completely.
Same here, but I'm still a little confused on how this is relevant to our lives. How does the relationship between gas and temperature affect us?
If the gases did not act this way, we would lose the direct relationship and there would be no more balloons floating. The beauty of hot air balloons using heated gas to blow up the balloon to make it float would not be able to occur. There would be no understanding why basketballs deflate or overinflate in the cold and hot weather. It is part of our daily understanding, how the little things in life make sense.
How does a basketball become affected by Charles Law?
Is it just basketballs?
Well, when it gets hotter outside and the temperature goes up, things filled with gas tend to overinflate. So say you're playing basketball outside with a few friends on a hot, sunny day. Then you forget to bring the basketball inside for a few days. And assuming the heat continues to go up and the basketball continues to fill with gas, this will leave the basketball overinflated with lumps coming out of it. But no, it does not just stop with basketballs. It goes as far as everyday driving, like now. During the winter time, the gas that fills the tire tends to decrease due to the cold temperatures. Therefore, you will need to fill the tires with more air as the temperatures continue to drop.
Oh, wow, so that explains why some of my basketballs deflate during the winter.
I never understood why my air in my tires were beginning to look so low.
Yes, and there have been so many advancements in the world today since I created the law in 1787. It is a very common thing in everyday life now since the world is just so modern.
How would you say air in the tire and basketballs have advanced?
Well, now there are pumps that will directly put air into the basketballs and tires for when it is cold. But when it is hot, you are now knowledgeable of the relationship between air and temperature. So, in the hotter months, you can now know not to overpump the basketball and know the levels of PSI you are entering into your tires. Since you know the tire will expand, you can put in less air. But tires are rubber, so they will be fine, and it would be an oddity if the tire just overexpanded to the point of needing new tires.
Wow, rubber tires.
Wow, basketballs?
I have gained so much knowledge from this interview, Mr. Charles.
Thank you so much for making us experts on this topic of your very own law.
Anytime. I'm glad I was able to help and share how I came to be where I am now.
Well, I believe it's about time to be a commercial break and on to the next scientist, Gay Lussac. I heard you gained a lot of knowledge from his studies.
Oh, my. I guess I should be heading back to my present time in the 1800s, but thank you again for having me.
Our pleasure.
Commercial break.